Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, so many parents put all their identity into their kids. So what happens when the birds have flown the nest? Well, that makes them stressed often. We're going to be talking to a leading national expert. Suzy Mighell is in the studio. She's an author, speaker, and she heads up Empty Nest Blessed. Her incredible story just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
All right, my baby birds flew the nest a while ago, and I remember how quiet the house was when they left. And I'm so proud of my son and my daughter. They both work for me now at Real News. But there are a lot of parents who they work their whole lives and their whole identity is tied up in their kids. And so what happens when the baby birds have flown the nest? That's why I invited my next guest into the studio, Suzy Mighell. She's an author, speaker, and she heads up Empty Nest Blessed, which I love that name. How did that come to you?
Well, I think I wanted to represent what I felt the empty nest was, which was such a time of blessing. And I felt like the Lord was just not finished with me, and it could be a season of blessing, although so many people enter the season feeling maybe lost or a little bit hopeless. And so that's not how it's meant to be.
And so one of the things that you blog about is joy, finding your joy again. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, joy really comes from within. It's not based on circumstances. And in the empty nest, I think so often parents spent the time that their kids were in the nest focused on those kids, and they really maybe lost touch with who they are. But God has a plan for that last part of their lives, and it's my joy and my privilege just to shepherd them through that and encourage and inspire, hopefully bless and serve them as we just walk through the season of life together.
I love that. We're going to pull up your website because you do a lot of speaking. Tell us about the audiences that you like to speak to.
You know, I speak to probably 3 main audiences. The first would be parents of high schoolers, those that are getting ready to be empty nesters that maybe feel great trepidation. They're afraid, they're worried about that transition, how to prepare, and I can help them do that. And then secondly, I think it has to do with those parents that are really just in crisis right after it happens, where they feel lost, they're grieving. It is a form of grief, and they just don't know what to do. What is my purpose in this next season? And then finally, I think long-term empty nesters who maybe are struggling with aging and maybe not being important or valuable or feeling like their life has a purpose. So those are the main 3 groups that I talk to. But the message is the same with all of them, to bless, encourage, and inspire.
I love it. And Suzy has been all over the news. I found a wonderful clip from Texas Today on NBC5. Let's go ahead and run that.
After years of planning your life around your kids, the empty nest season brings big changes. Whether you're feeling excited, unsure, or a little weepy, Empty Nest Bless is here to walk you through this next chapter. Blogger and author Suzy Mighell joins us to talk about her new book, Empty Nest Bless, 60 Days to Finding Joy in the Empty Nest. Suzy, welcome to Texas Today.
I'm so glad to be here.
I feel like the empty nest, it is truly a time of transition. Well, what did this season look like for you?
You know, it's funny because it is a season of grief, and people don't talk about that enough. But grief looks different for everyone. And so it's normal to feel that way. But I will tell you what surprised me is along with that track of grief and sadness, ran this parallel track of exhilaration that kept popping into my grief.
Right.
When I realized I was really free. I could do whatever I wanted now.
Uh-oh.
And what replaced the exhilaration, I would say, was a really robust exploration of what I could do during this season that could really bless others.
What are some blessings and maybe some challenges that come with this transition?
I think blessings and challenges are sort of two sides of the same coin, don't you think?
Yeah.
So, for example, the empty house. It can feel like the kids are gone, all the air was sucked out, and it can feel a little sad and lonely, but at the same time, all of a sudden you realize, I can hear myself think. This is magic. When I put things away, they stay there. When I make a bed, it stays made unless I get in it. This is fabulous.
Now, I guess when did you decide that, hey, you know what? I'm going to write a blog about this?
Well, I found that many of my friends, and including me, were really just struggling with some of the things that we'd set aside while we were busy raising our kids. So maybe it was health and wellness. Maybe it was some relationships or a marriage that really had not gotten the attention it needed. So I just felt like I will be the brave one and I will take everybody along with me on my journey. We'll go together. I'll just lead the way. And I'll talk about my joys, my struggles, my challenges as I got through the empty nest.
So can we really dig into some of the topics that you actually cover
I
in
would
this
love
blog?
To.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So one thing I really love about women is that I think we're so interesting and complex. And on Empty Nest Blessed, we address that. So we cover everything from beauty, fashion, travel, marriage, parenting adult kids, because that does change as they grow.
You also have a book coming out called Empty Nest Blessed. Tell us more.
Well, it's a great 60-day guide to the empty nest. Okay. So it's almost like having me come alongside you as a girlfriend, giving you daily encouragement, biblical wisdom, practical tips to help you go from sadness to joy and to really embrace this season with confidence and purpose. So I'm just covering everything.
So powerful. You're so natural. I know your faith is such a big part of your life.
Yes.
Talk about your faith journey, and then after the kids left the nest, did your relationship with God improve?
You know, it's funny because really when the kids left the nest, I found the quiet very comforting. My prayer life definitely improved. And I had an older empty nest mom when my kids were still in high school that told me when her kids left the nest, she said, my weapon of choice became prayer.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a powerful way to put that. And you don't have the opportunity to speak into your children's hearts, to look into their eyes and talk with them. But you can always talk to the Lord about them. He loves them more than you do. And so I've shared a lot about that on Empty Nest Blessed. The post that went viral for me was the one where I talked about 6 Bible verses that I used to pray for my adult kids. Things like Micah 6:8. Things that we wanted for our kids to do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with their God. And
Yes.
Colossians 1:9-12, to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord and bear good fruit. So those are verses that I used to pray for my kids. And my faith is inseparable from who I am.
Yes.
And I don't always talk about faith. We talk about fun things like fashion and beauty and all of those, but really just we're a reflection of the Lord. And we want to just do everything we do with excellence.
Yeah. Well, talk
my
about
heart.
parenting styles, because once they're out of the nest, I mean, there's only a certain amount of parenting you can do.
Yes. It is a time where you transition. You have to transition from being that person who is training children to really one of a role, more of a coach, exhorting them, encouraging them, coming into their lives when you're invited, and not giving advice and suggestions without being asked. Now, I am still guilty sometimes of saying, I have a thought about this. Do you want to hear it? You can say no.
Yes, yes.
And if they say no, I honor that. But they rarely say no.
Well, and to me, the interesting thing is, Suzy, and we're of the same age, parenting never ends.
No.
So anytime I have something I'm wrestling with, I call mom and dad in Waco. And I was like, hey, can I get you involved in this? So,
Love that.
And they're, my mom is in her late 80s and my dad's in his early 90s. And so parenting never ends.
No, it
but
doesn't.
The way you relate to the child or the grandchild does.
Exactly. And it does change, and it has to change. I think I see empty nest parents get themselves into trouble with their relationships with their adult kids when they do not shift in their parenting. And it's not like a light switch. It's usually a gradual gradual transition, more like a dimmer,
Yes.
as they learn to go from that advice giver to more of the encourager and that coach. But you have to make that transition. You can no longer speak into their lives with just making suggestions
Yes.
all the
All right.
time.
Well, we have to talk about your book because it releases in October.
October 14th. Is
October
the publishing date.
14th, and I love the name. So tell us more. What will they learn in the book?
You know, the book is 60 Days of Finding Joy in the Emptiness. So it's really daily encouragement, biblical wisdom, and practical, actionable steps to help parents learn about everything we're talking about. And we go from talking about really who are you now that your kids are out of the nest and your primary identity is not that of mom. Who are you?
Yes.
And what skills and abilities, what blessings can you bring to others by serving them? And more importantly, even than who you believe you are, who others think you are, is who does God say that you are? So we talk about that and really living a life that's really mission driven and focused on others. And then going through all the stages of the empty nest. So I start with preparing for the empty nest, talk about that some, as well as what happens when the nest empties, that initial feeling of grief that is so common, and we all share it. And then what it looks like when the nest empties, how you still have to date your spouse. Sometimes there's repairs to be done in your marriage, getting back to making friends at midlife when you we're used to your friends being your kids' friends' parents. Right. So what that's like. And then finding purpose in the emptiness. So doing all the things that you've always wanted to do. Travel more.
Love it.
Maybe go back to school, re-enter the workforce, anything like that. And so finally, there's a big section in the book about parenting adult kids, how to connect with those adult kids. And that is something you have to really figure out when they first leave the nest, because then they get married, they have their own children, and life just continues changing. The empty nest is not a destination, Jeff. It's a dynamic journey. So you get there, and then it continues changing and evolving, and you have to evolve with it.
When do you start preparing for the empty nest?
Wow, I think probably by the time your kids get in high school and you see that it's coming, when the first one leaves the nest, you know it's coming, and you start thinking, it is time for me to think about what that's going to be like, and it is time.
Yes.
And so definitely that transition has to happen. You start thinking and praying about how you want to use this really last season of life. It sounds very perfunctory, but I think if you divided life up into thirds, the first third may be your life before children, and then raising children in that second third. So you really essentially have hopefully a third of your life left, and God has a plan for that time.
Yes.
And so how is he going to use you to bless and encourage others and serve them?
Well, when we get on an airplane, they always tell us to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
And for many parents who are so busy raising kids, they never get the oxygen. So what's the secret to finding your passion again?
That's a great question. So one thing I tell new empty nester moms is to text, this is a little weird, but text 10 people who know you well and ask them to give you 3 things that come to mind when they think about you. Just one word little things.
Yes.
And when I did this, I thought I was going to get things like bossy, opinionated, things like that. And instead I got words like confident, encouraging, forthright, thoughtful, and words that surprised me. So there's a way that we think of ourselves, there's a way that others see us, and that can help you focus on who you are meant to be, what skills and abilities you have to bring to the table, and then, of course, adding that to who God says you are. So you take that information and you add to that passion. What are you passionate about? What lights your fire? What makes you excited? What makes you want to get out of bed in the morning? So you take that and then you're looking for the intersection of those things. To have a mission mindset in your life with what you love and what you're good at. And the Lord can use that, and he will.
Suzy, it feels like you're leading a movement, and you're speaking to millions and millions of parents who sometimes go into a funk and they stay in that funk for years.
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
No, it's not healthy. And it's I think it's very, very normal to have a sense of grief in the early months. I usually tell people that after about 2 months, you should start feeling like you are the trajectory is going up.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean you're feeling great, but we don't want to do what does Leanne Morgan say, I took to my bed.
Right.
You don't want to take to your bed for an extended period of time. If you're still struggling after 2 months significantly, you need to talk to a pastor or a counselor and get some help. But then again, there are some people that are just thinking they're living their best life, and they're not having trouble with this empty nest. They couldn't wait. They're ready. It's awesome. And so just like any form of grief, Jeff, everybody's reaction is different.
Yeah.
And that's normal.
And it's probably healthy for the kids to see mom and dad living their best life.
It is.
They don't want to feel the guilt that I left the nest and now mom's in a funk.
You're absolutely right. I feel such a sense of wanting to set an example for my adult kids of this is what 60 looks like. You can still make a difference in the lives of others. You can still make a difference in this world, no matter what age. When the Lord's not finished with you, you're not finished. And so I feel a real drive to set an example for them, and I want them to be proud of me.
Yes.
And I'm getting emotional. That's really, really important to me as well. So,
All right, what's getting you emotional right now?
just wanting my kids to be proud of me and thinking about setting that example for them. And I want other women to feel the passion to do that too. And that they are vital and important. Aging is a privilege. With it comes wisdom, it comes confidence, it comes caring less what others think of you, and understanding and knowing your best self, what you have to offer, and how God's plan is going to be. I think you have a sense of, I'm probably never going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but I can write a book.
Right.
And so you have a sense of life's possibilities don't seem endless and so open and almost overwhelming like they did when you were younger. Instead, I feel very focused on what God has for me to do right now, and very laser focused on what that is, and fulfilling that job with joy and excellence, hopefully.
That's so beautiful. In the last minute or so, talk to the parent who's struggling right now.
I would say it's normal. Give yourself grace. Go through what you need to go through to grieve, and get back to a place of joy. If you're struggling with that transition, you need to find help. Talk to a pastor, a counselor, your spouse, someone. And just know that on the other side of things, there is joy. So think about what things you set aside when you were busy raising, just in that sacred calling of raising your children. And that probably means if you had that mindset, you did it well. So think about what you set aside. Was it understanding technology? Was it your health and wellness? What was it? What did you set aside? And come back around and focus on that. Secondly, think of what you want to do. What do you wish you had time to do again? Whether it's gardening or going back to school, re-entering the workforce, and go for it. Figure out how to do it. We're in a place where we can get so much information now, so pursue. Thirdly, I always tell parents when they're new empty nesters, plan a getaway. And think about doing something that you've always wanted to do. Travel. It's a big joy.
Yes.
In the empty nest years.
Amen. What a great segment. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your wisdom. We're going to end with her website, which is emptynestblessed.com. The great Suzy Mighell. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.